February 23rd, 4:30 p.m. This is being held.
Sorry.
It's being held live streamed in accordance with the virtual public meetings law under New York State open meeting law. In attendance today are Commissioners McNaughton and Jackson Chalmers. Commissioner Cassidy will be joining us soon. Phil Banaszak, Albany Corp Counsel, Talani Elamade, Human Resources, Tatiana Diaz, Human Resources, Deanna DiCarlo, Albany Public Library, and Jenna Patera, Albany Public Library Board Representative. Meeting is now called to order. Linda, did you have an opportunity to look at the meeting minutes from February 2nd? You're muted, Linda.
Yes, I did review the minutes of our last meeting and I moved to accept the minutes.
Seconded, passed and carried. Agenda item number 3, report of appointments to the competitive, non-competitive, exempt, and labor class. Civil Service Office reported on the following permanent appointments in the competitive class. Lavelle Bebo, accounting clerk, Albany Public Library, 1/14/2022. Ryan Bishecki, building inspector, Department of Buildings Regulatory Compliance, 1/17/2022. Tanya Buziel, customer contract specialist, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/9/2022. Mallory Wright, engineer, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/9/2022. Ryan Savory, Patrick Markowitz, Jake Grimaldi, Anthony Glimbisi, Joffrey Gerfin, Alex Ferezzi, Daniel Kramer, Scott Booth, Andrew Beyonce, Edward Ash, Scott Sanders, Andrew Neidnig, Thomas Muir, Joseph Mosier, and David Shea, all firefighters, Department of Fire Emergency and Emergency Services, effective 2/7/2022. Paul Benke, Geographic Information Systems Specialist, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/9/2022. John Edvilson, Library 1, Albany Public Library, 1/3/2022. Skylar Mungingnast, Library Clerk, Albany Public Library, 1/18/2022. Jared Flagler, Mapping Technologist, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/9/2022. William Johnson, police officer, City of Albany Police Department, 2/28/2022. John Tedesco, superintendent of water metering, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/9/2022. Civil Service Office reported on the following provisional appointments in the competitive class. Janelle Anderson, Accountant 2, Albany Housing Authority, 1/3/2022. James Futia, Code Enforcement Inspector, Department of Buildings and Regulatory Compliance, 2/14/2022. George Bennett, Custodian, DeAndre Burnett, Head Custodian, Corey Russell, Head Custodian, all Albany School District, respectively 1/3/2022, 12/20/2021, and 1/3/2022. Magena Hanna, Junior Accountant, Albany Housing Authority, 1/10/2022. Pablo Laurentino, Maintenance Worker, Albany Housing Authority, 11/29/2021. Jennifer Monroe, Office Manager, Albany School District, 12/17/2021. Brittany White, Office Supervisor, Department of Recreation, 1/7/2022. Megan Culbertson, Receptionist, Albany School District, 8/31/2021. John Hajar, Sanitation Equipment Operator, Department of General Services, 2/7/2022. The Civil Service Office reported on the following non-competitive class appointments. Gary Coons, Building Maintenance Worker, Albany School District, 1/24/2022. Jeremy Hawley, Building Maintenance Worker, Albany School District, 2/7/2022. Beve Thomas, Cook, Albany School District, 1/21/2022. Jennifer Carver, Hall Monitor, Albany School District, 12/17/2021. Brenda Larios Urbina, Hall Monitor, Albany School District, 1/7/2022. Deshauna Bernard Dixon, Hall Monitor, Albany School District, 1/18/2022. Ramil Hankins, Maintenance Laborer, Albany Housing Authority, 11/8/2021. Nicoy Bailey, Water Maintenance Repair Worker, Department of Water and Water Supply, 2/16/2022. The Civil Service Office reported on the following labor class appointments. Edith Gonzalez, Custodial Worker, Albany School District, 1/10/2022. Bibi Mirzare, Food Service Worker, Albany School District, 1/21/2022. Linda, do you have a motion on these?
I move to accept the appointments as stated by Commissioner Tom McNaughton.
Seconded, passed and carried. Agenda item number 4, establishment of eligible lists. Chief Water Treatment Plant Operator. Only one eligible candidate on the list, Tatiana.
Correct, and he's actually a current employee of the water department.
Okay. I make the motion, it's accepted.
I agree. Move to accept.
And although this is being established for 4 years, obviously when I'll reorder this exam, and at the establishment of that list would supersede.
Okay, thank you. Licensed wastewater systems operator. Again, one candidate.
Again, an Albany water department candidate.
Okay. I make the motion, we accept.
So moved.
Passed and carried. Police Lieutenant. I make the motion that we accept this.
So moved.
Passed and carried. Water treatment plant operator, 3 candidates. I make the motion, we accept.
So moved.
Okay, creation of new job specifications, administrative analyst. Tatiana, care to?
Yep, so this position is being created under the police department. It's kind of similar to their crime data analyst. It's gonna be a position created to provide data and reports. It specifies particularly what areas of reports, but general reports relating to public safety, investigations and things like that. I think it's one of the positions created to be able to support the police collaborative.
So this is not a new, this is an entirely new position, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
To be able to provide metrics and data from APD.
That's fine.
Mhm.
The motion, we accept it.
So moved.
Passed and carried. Director of Payroll Administration, Tatiana.
So currently the title the title is currently vacant. It used to be Director of Payroll and Purchasing. I think Talani would probably have a little more details on that specific position because she helped draft this one. But I believe the position is being focused back on payroll. And this will be the director of all payroll administration for the City of Albany departments.
This
So,
is correct. Thank you, Tatiana.
Talani, is a new position?
It's not a new position. We just narrowed the job description to focus on payroll instead of both procurement and payroll.
Okay, when was the last time that position has been, the specifications changed with respect to this particular position?
I believe 2014.
Our
Okay.
last title, when we, actually, I want to say it might be a little sooner than that. I want to say it might have been 19. I can look in here. But it used to be our director of payroll and our director of purchasing. They combined those two positions and now they're separating them again.
I think that's what made me ask. I remember seeing this recently.
Yeah.
Yep. And the position's been vacant since December, so they're recruiting now and felt it was appropriate to make the separation at this time.
Okay.
And again, this position oversees citywide payroll operations.
Correct.
Make the motion, we accept it.
So moved.
Okay. At this time, we're gonna move into executive session with Commissioner Jackson and Talani and Tatiana. And we will be back in general session shortly. So ladies, if you could please hold on, that would be great. Thank you. Tat, can you set that up?
Yep, admin services is on. They'll break out a room with the commissioners, Talani, myself, and you.
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's quite a week. We have a lot going on the board, but I'm sure it pales in comparison to what it's like in the administration right now.
It's a lot all around.
It's a lot all around, but we're getting through it.
We absolutely are. I'm actually
Yeah.
really proud of us all. I think we've
I-
done really well,
Yeah, me too. It's
including the board. I think we've all just kind of, persevered and
you gotta run the library. So I feel like it's a little exhausting and unfair at the tail end of COVID, where it was so hard and so much change to now. I keep checking in on Melanie. I'm like, you're okay?
yeah. We've been doing the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But she's a superstar.
She is for sure.
Yeah. But
Sorry to break in. I just want to remind you guys we are live streaming.
Oh, thank you for that reminder.
thank you for that. I
You're
will
welcome.
mute.
Everybody back?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're all set. The meeting is back in session. And at this point, we're agenda item number 6, old business, Albany Public Library residency exemption for the library clerk position. Who will be speaking on behalf of the Albany board?
Jenna is our Board of Trustee representative, and I'm an employee of the library, so I think either one of us can speak to it. Whatever.
Well, I'll leave it to either of you ladies. Who wants to bat lead off here?
Why don't I go ahead? I'm the chair of the personnel committee, so this is an issue that we have been dealing with actually for several years now. So do you want me to give you an overview, or since it's an old business, did you have questions for us?
So it's come to us that you're looking to rescind the residency requirement for the library clerk 1 position. That's accurate?
Yes, temporarily, and not, and we want to rescind it as a city restriction. We would be hiring from the county.
Right, but it serves the city, and I think where, as a body, our concern lies is to the extent that you have really moved heaven and earth to find positions for people in the underserved communities that you really perform your business in. Can you give us some indication of what kind of outreach you've done to meet these staffing requirements in the city of Albany proper?
Deanna, that's probably, you probably want to speak to that one.
Sure, I'm happy to. And my understanding also is that this would be a 3-month, just a loosening up of the residency requirement. We would still be hiring off of the Albany City Civil Service list, right, Jenna?
Off the Albany County list. So the reason, so we actually, we have a very small list for this position. We've had a real difficulty hiring, in part because the position description, I'm sorry, I just said Deanna should talk and now I'm talking, but
No,
the position description does not match the work. And so this is something we've been in conversation with because we've tried several times. We've even gone to the state to change the clerk description, and we haven't been able to get a change to the position. So what happens is we get a list, we interview people, we try to hire off the list, but people don't want the job because they have been applying for an office position, and it's very much a civil customer service position. And we have a wonderful candidate who we have been working with through, I think, the library school, who lives just outside the city. And so we'd like to loosen the restriction just for a few months in this specific instance because we're severely understaffed and we are looking to just be able to open the buildings.
Thank you, Jenna. So yeah, I can say to that end, we have a program that we put on called So You Want to Be a Library Clerk. It's available on our YouTube channel. We also do it in the buildings, or at least we did, regularly when we weren't under restrictive operations. We're back open now, so that will probably be happening again. We filled 19 clerk positions since July. So we have done a really good job, but we have 3 part-time clerks that are open now, and there was only 1 person on the list. So my understanding from my interim director is that we wanted to just temporarily try to populate the list a little bit more. And as soon as we, can get through this next phase of hiring, we would then go back to restricting it to Albany residents, because it's very important to the library that we do hire from within the city, and we want our frontline staff to, match the demographics of our city. That's very, very important to us.
So do you go and do outreach in the local churches, the schools? Do you partner with Albany High School with regards to their outplacement? There are alumni services. These are all things that the police and fire have done to increase their representation in these previously underserved communities relative to civil service. So, I might offer that a conversation with police and fire could help you. And to be quite honest, loosening the restrictions for 2 or 3 months, while may fit your needs, in many ways is a little more troubling, that you're making a particular adjustment to your process for one person, one position, and then you're going to revert back to previous course of action afterwards. Ideally, the civil service process has to be defensible. And anytime something happens that is contrary to previous practice, and with the express purpose that it will be changed again in short order, it certainly generates a raised eyebrow. And I think it reduces the defensibility. Is that clear? I mean, I'm not trying to say that you're trying to game the system, but you can see how somebody might think that.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner McNaughton. It does appear, I don't know if you meant this intentionally or not, but it does appear that you want to circumvent the residency so that you can reach somebody who does not live in the city of Albany. And that's the way it's going to be looked at. That is really not the purpose of civil service procedures.
Certainly, and I, my sense from talking with our interim director is not so much that we're trying to reach one person, but we would like to populate the list and have a larger pool to work from. And I understand and appreciate everything that you're saying about outreach. We do work with the schools. We participate with the summer youth employment program. We have actually hired a couple of folks from that program recently once they turned 18 and were able to take the test. So we definitely try to do all of that outreach that we can. And I appreciate what you're saying, and I would welcome a conversation with police and fire if they had some advice for how to do a better job at that.
And also, I'd like to add, I was kind of speaking out of turn there. That is an example of an issue that we've had. Basically, we will get candidates that seem very well suited to the position who live relatively close, but are just outside the area. But we would not be changing it for a specific candidate. The issue is that we have had a lot of trouble filling these positions.
I do want to add a note. In order for you guys to change your job description, I believe we met on this last month or maybe just a few weeks ago. All you have to do is present your changes to me as the secretary, and I'll present them to the commission for approval. So you don't have to go to the state to change your job description. The state ultimately deems what's the appropriate exam for the job description that is created between the appointing authority and is voted on by the commission.
Perhaps
Thank you for that.
that could be another solution, or another part of the solution is maybe you need a position that is more customer facing, and then specifically customer facing. And it might not be at the same salary structure. It could be, it could be lower relative to the skills required. But I think maybe that's a start.
I just also wanted to make one more note. Just keep in mind that if you're only requesting this, and if it was to be passed during this time for 3 months, those candidates would have to apply, schedule, and pass the exam within those 3 months to be added to that list if the commission was to make the exception in this case. I just want you guys, that when you're thinking about recruiting, if you're only asking for a 3-month exemption, then that means that your candidates have to apply, take the test, and then be canvassed within that time.
Tatiana, under what circumstances is it permissible that in the selection process, if there's not viable candidates on a list, that you could hire in a contiguous area of the city?
So it doesn't exempt them from, and I will speak to Deanna's point that she did make. When we tend to canvass a library clerk for their part-time positions, we don't get interest, we don't get replies back. Sometimes we'll have maybe a candidate or two In rare cases, we'll have 3 candidates, and then when they interview them, they do send over declination that the person was ultimately interested in a full-time position. So they are taking these exams and in hopes of getting a full-time job. That's one thing I will speak on as I'm certifying these lists and sending them over for them. A lot of times they are non-mandatory lists. And then they would be able to hire off of the list, but those candidates would have to come in and pass that exam and be reachable, or they have to be removed from the list. So I have noticed in a few instances that we have had non-mandatory lists after a canvassing of the library clerk for part-time.
Tatiana, how many people are on the list right now?
Sure, I could look, give me just 1 second.
Because I did want to point out the exam itself is really an issue for us as well, because it's like, how many words can you type? And
well, the exam, again, that's a New York State. Our exams are provided to us by New York State. So that's something that the state would have to address. But like we said, if you were to make adjustments to your actual job description, a different test might deem appropriate for that new job description. If the job description doesn't change, if you got, because what I've noticed since I've been doing this, involved in this type of work since 2016, what the library usually does is they'll change or they'll add an additional qualification, but that doesn't change the scope of your actual exam. So you would have to go in and touch on more of those areas to see if maybe this exam would not, to see, and then we can present it to New York State and see if they give us a different exam to test those candidates. But to answer your question, we currently have 15 active candidates on that list, and we are experiencing less candidates applying for exams and taking exams, not just for this list, for a lot of our lists. As you can see, sometimes when we certify these lists, there's not as much candidates as we used to have. But currently there is 15 active candidates on this list.
And how
And
many?
excuse me, I don't think you're any different than any other employer in the regard that the opportunity to hire is strained right now. I think it's a really tough battle to get people that might be looking for a hybrid position or a remote position. And I think generally the things that cause us concern with this are the fact that it's the temporary nature of this revision of requirements, and to go back into what had been the practice. To be honest with you, I was surprised to find out that none of your other positions do require residency. I was shocked to hear that.
I know that our director does, or is that correct?
The librarian positions do not require residency. The clerical positions do. And that,
I mean, I was surprised at that, but that's neither here nor there at this point.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is we added the residency requirement just a few years ago because we wanted to prioritize, residents of Albany. So it hasn't been, forever. It's only been a few years.
I mean, I would frankly suggest that this be the first of many conversations that perhaps you could have with Tatiana and Talani, and you might need to streamline part of this. You might need to find a new title to test under, and so it meets your needs. I don't think this is the appropriate solution now.
So, we actually have been in conversation with Talani and Tatiana, and I have a redlined version of the library clerk position ready to go for our next conversation. The problem is we've tried this before. Deanna, you might have a better memory of it, but we actually did at one point go to the state and say, is there another test we can be using for library clerk? And they came back and said, we only have one library clerk test available.
I think that's true. It's the account clerk test. I've taken it myself. I was a clerk back in 2006. And I don't think the test has changed since then, but I know that's not your issue at all. I understand that's a state issue, but I would be curious, and this is my first time meeting with you, so please be patient and have some grace if I ask a dumb question, but would it be possible for you all to provide us with an example of a customer service job description that is civil service? I did some Googling, I looked on New York State, I found a couple of things, but it would probably be really helpful for us to see what kind of keywords we need to use to make this happen.
So I could-
It's a customer service position.
Absolutely. I
there is-
can send you similar titles. Obviously, the titles might be department specific, but I can send you customer service roles in different departments, not only with the city of Albany, but other other appointed authorities that use it. So I'll send you over some examples of entry-level customer service titles.
And I know that DEC and Parks and Recreation, I think perhaps even tourism, whatever they fall under, they have entry-level positions that are more like customer clerk or something like that. And that might be, maybe that's the model you might want to look for. Something you can outside the
we have one that's
library.
We have one that's information clerk that tends to be the candidates have a good success rate with that exam, and it is used across city departments. So I can send you guys several different examples of similar titles.
Anything else? Talani, do you have anything to add here?
No, and I'd be happy to help with any recruitment efforts. And
Thank you.
Jenna, we can talk offline.
Can I just quickly, before we kind of leave empty-handed here, so we have 15 people on the list right now. Deanna, do you know offhand how many positions we have open for clerks?
We have 3 part-time clerk positions. My HR director told us that there was only 1 person on the certified list last time. So I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't seen that list, but so there are 15 people who can potentially respond to the canvas, but the responses to the canvas are where we're having some issues.
So what should we do in the interim, do you think, if we can't expand our pool?
Talani, I'm gonna pass this over to Talani and Tatiana, because anything I could offer up, I'm sure is either incorrect or would be frowned upon as well. So Talani, how about you?
No, you're fine. So, and Tatiana, please feel free to jump in. We would have to canvass the list that is available. If we do get responses that are more than the 2, so if we hit the 3 that have responded, then we definitely have to go through those 3 that have responded in order for you to fill those positions. Anything under, so if we hit 2, then yes, we can probably find an alternative. But the first step really is for us to go through that canvassing list. And if we do get more than the 3 answers, then you'll have a pool to choose from.
So it seems like it keeps failing.
So, and this is, I believe we've discussed this with Marjorie, because she tends to be the person who gets the list and sends over the request to canvas. Once we send you over a non-mandatory list, so less than 3 candidates on that list, you can hire provisionally. Because this is a continuous recruitment title and position with a residency requirement for the exam, your candidates would have to live in the city of Albany and would have to be willing to come in and take and pass that exam.
But I think that might be the kind of backdoor solution that, if I were in your shoes, I'd find appealing. If you go through that list and you have to go and get provisional employees, well, then you can go to these community opportunities, churches, go to the schools and try to solicit candidates that you can slide in there for a determinate length of time before they're obligated to take the test and pass it. And they're going to understand the job function. I think there'll be less of a surprise. And since you're appointing them, you're going to know that they are City of Albany residents already. That might be a solution.
And I do want to note that I know your part-time library clerks are one of the positions that when we do our rules and resolutions changes, we are going to try to move that into the non-competitive class for part-time only. So your full-time is similar to what they do at the school district, where part-time hall monitors are non-competitive, but full-time hall monitors are competitive. Because it is a little more difficult to get candidates to take an exam for a part-time job. Sometimes they're not interested in doing that, which is one of the reasons why we tend to get a lower response rate for these part-time clerks. But again, if we can recanvass the list, and I can send something out as soon as tomorrow. If that comes back as a non-mandatory list, you can also post at that point that you guys are recruiting so long they meet the requirements. That's something that we had to do recently with one of our city departments for a continuous recruitment, because we just were not getting responses from the candidates on the list anymore.
Thank you. I think we also did that recently too within the last year, we went provisional for this very same reason. So
Yep.
Familiar with that. Thank you for that.
Jenna, is there anything else that we can do?
No, I appreciate the information. I think we need to be continuing to be in conversation. Like I said, I have a redlined version of this position ready to go once I get board approval. I think we're hamstrung a little bit by our bureaucracy meeting up with yours. It ends up taking a very long time, but we're really, I think we have the same goals. It's just about finding the people to serve this community.
Right, that's fine. I think you're dead on. We are all in the same boat then, pulling the same way. So I think, Linda, do you have anything else?
No, I have nothing else to,
Okay,
no
so
other
since it was an
questions.
agenda item, I'm gonna make the motion that we deny the library the opportunity to rescind the residency requirement relative to that position.
So moved.
Okay, that's passed and carried. Ladies, thank you so much for contributing today. We wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. The next regular meeting will be Wednesday, March 30th. And is there any new business? I'm sorry. Is there any new business, Linda?
No new business.
Tatiana?
None to report.
Talani?
No new business.
No new business. Next meeting, Wednesday, March 30th, 2022 at 4:30. I think that we'll still be Zooming at that point. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attendance, and have a great day.
Thank you for
Thank
hearing
you.
us out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.